This is the fourth part of optical tracking inside the MotionBuilder, and on that stage we will start our tracking process. The tracking process I'm always do in two steps. The first step is that I'm do some draft tracking using our rigid bodies along the timeline, and then I'm do more precise tracking and I'm track some gaps. So when I'm tracking the rigid body, I skip all moments when there is less than 3 markers, 3 points for the rigid body. So I just skip these parts of a timeline, and after that, when I'm tracking just a specific marker, I'm returning back to that gaps and feel the motion if there is the optical point for that marker. So now let me show how to do that. We start from the first marker with the pelvis. We start with the pelvis. So we go to the first time when we can see all points for our pelvis. This is 5 points for pelvis. And we have several possibilities, like we can make movement using the transport, translate and rotate manipulators, or we can turn off the manipulator, and in that case we have the possibility to using the right mouse button click from the rigid body point to drag to specific point in our cloud. And it will align the, like we snap one point, then we can snap another point, and it will align our rigid body to closer to needed position. Then we do a fit. And now for solving in a specific direction, we have possibility from cursor to solve forward, or we have other modes, for example backward from cursor, solve only inside the gap, and so on and so forth. But in our case we would like to solve in forward direction, and so I'm returning back to my keyframe, and probably I don't need visibility for the source markers, so I can just simply turn off visibility for marker set and for source markers. So I will track only rigid bodies on that stage. I have the fit, good quality, and I'm continue solving. Okay, it stopped on empty, and that means that on some point there is less than 3 available markers, or the distance is too high. Like we see that this is the trajectory of the previous frames, and we have tracked the position of our rigid body, and seems that on some point, if we rotate in more suitable angle to see how many points we have on specific stage. So sometimes we have still 3 points, and for example on that stage, and we can move to that frame, skip all previous, do some fit, and try to continue, then go to the next frame when we see the possible result. But here we don't have needed count of points, so there is no more 3 points for our rigid body, but we have here 3 points. We can move it, fit, and try to solve. Still okay, that's the end. And probably our stop frame, we can tweak our stop frame, like we have just not too many markers here, and I think it can be, we can say that this is probably the end of our animation, of our visibility. I think the visibility stops even on that frame, but we can track something on legs to have more frames in advance. Okay, so we tracked our rigid body, and we can try to track in the back direction. To do that, we turn mode for back from cursor and try to solve and see if we have possibility to track some more, like we have here 3 markers. Let's try to use them. We fit and try to solve back. Alright, so here fit, try to solve back. Okay, I think that will be enough, because as we can see there is no really good precision, a lot of markers for other rigid bodies. So the real start will be maybe from that point, and we can also tweak our first frame. Let's say it's better to snap, by the way, on frames when we have the timeline. Right, so let's say our start frame will be 2560. So that will be the start frame, and from that point we have the pelvis rigid body which is moved. So let's go to another body that we have 3 points on our spine. So we select the spine and we use the button go to stance. It will go closer to position for the stance pose, and we need to assign these 3 markers. Okay, so I'm do some fit and try to solve in forward direction. Alright, so let's check how it works. Seems it's fine. Okay, so here we don't have enough points, and probably we can keep it like that, because as I said, if the situation is not enough for tracking 3 or more points, we better to skip that to continue tracking in the second stage on the markers. So we keep like that. And now I would like to track the legs in that animation, and it will be in the next part of that series of videos.